Now, in just a moment, we'll be speaking with an environmentalist on the issues of clean energy that affects countries around the world, and also particularly in Nigeria, where we're looking at being more environmental friendly with devices that we come up with for clean energy sources. And for more on this topic, Mr. Taiwo Adewale, an environmentalist, will be joining us on News Across Nigeria. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, this is supposed to be the clean energy age, right?
Exactly.
We're supposed to be more particular about how we affect our environment as the human race.
Exactly.
This, of course, for longevity in terms of life and quality of life.
Exactly.
In this case, can you remind us of the importance of having or using or being able to use clean energy?
Yeah, as the name implies, clean energy, which means the energy you are using that is not emitting anything to the environment, keeping the environment clean, because we are talking about climate change now, we are talking about emission. So in this case, the energy you are giving out, for instance, we have the sun, we have the wind, we have the hydro. These are sources of clean energy that doesn't involve like fossil fuel that give emission to the environment. So when you talk of clean technology, clean energy, energy that we are going to use, which is renewable. You have the free sun with your solar panel, you can tap out from the sun. You have the wind, your wind turbine from the wind. So these are clean sources of energy that doesn't release any emission to the environment. Just like you cooking with firewood, you are releasing emission to the environment. If you go to some of the sawmill now, you see them setting the sawdust on fire. But this sawdust can be converted into what you call briquette and put in those stoves you see, which will burn less and less emission to the environment. So this is very good, whereby now the price of crude oil, fuel is going up. Now you don't need to use oil. What you need to do is you go back to the renewable energy, you go back to those sawmill, get those sawdust, convert them to briquettes, and use them just like the olden days, what our father used to do and our parents, they get the sawdust, put in a tin. Those days are kerosene are expensive, and you see it burning slowly without emission into the environment. So these are renewable energy that people should embrace and pay less attention on fossil fuel that pollute the environment.
You mentioned natural sources like the sun, and if it's not broke, don't fix it. But we're talking about conversion.
Exactly.
But the technology is expensive in some cases.
Exactly.
So as far as affordability is concerned, how do you think we can go forward?
Yeah, this is where investment should come in. This is where private sector should come in, the government. And in Nigeria today, between 10,000 to 100,000, the minimum is 10,000 naira. With 10,000 naira, you should be able to get a solar panel that will give you about 20 watts. So minimum, but once we have more investment in it, after all, the sun is free, the wind is free, but just the technology to do the conversion. So, but once we have more investment, then we have even subsidy from government that, okay, if we are going to import solar panel and so on, you have some discounts, so that will force the price to go down.
Okay, what about rural areas now? You're talking about solar panels, but there's other types of infrastructure that is needed, right? Other things that are needed. How do you think that people in the more rural areas will be able to have access to?
Like I said, the sources are there. The sun is over everywhere, whether the rural or the urban area. We have the sun, the wind is all over everywhere, whether in the rural but now the conversion, like I said, this is where the investment comes in. If you have to go to the rural area, you need to look at the population that where is my market. So for investors to come in, oh, this is where my market is, let me focus on the rural area. So definitely once the government give all the various tax incentive, you import, you are going to the rural area. Even most of the renewable energy the government is in there, more attention is on the rural area because this is where it is more needed, unlike the urban area where you have all sorts of alternative compared to the rural area. And in the rural area, instead of people going into deforestation, I need power. So, but by the time you empower them, that okay, make subsidy. We have a lot of NGOs now that are into free solar installation and so on. So the government needs to make the environment enable the environment for importer to bring in, then for local production, because not everything will have to be importing. By now, we should be producing our own solar panel with all the, in fact, looking at the technology, looking at the population, and so we should be able to produce our own panels here in Nigeria. And we have different types. We have the mono and the problems are, but like I said, the basic, at least with 10,000 naira, you should be able to get something that give at least 20 watts.
It's very good you're mentioning solar power again, because what is the problem with solar power? The way it's been sold to us around the world, and what we know, why aren't we more solar power reliant in this country? Why isn't it a given that we're running on solar power as well? Why aren't all the street lights powered by
yeah, so for Lagos, I'm very sure in Lagos, some of the street lights are powered by even winds. You see the small wind turbine, you see then while some are powered by solar, but in most cases this solar is connected to a battery, and in most cases you come back the next morning, the battery is missing, which means some people have gone there to remove the battery, because once you have the solar, you have the battery for the backup, but in most cases you come back and you find out that the battery is missing.
Wait, can you imagine a very efficient solar powered technology enterprise that helps farmers in the rural communities and all over Nigeria, and they have access to solar power and they don't need to depend on electricity? Can you imagine how?
Yes, of course. In fact, I have a friend that did a solar fridge for the people in the rural, because another thing is storage facility, especially for the farmers. How do we store? So he was able to do a solar fridge, and I also have another one that even did a solar powered this Marwa for farm production and so on. So it's very possible, like I said, the affordability, and this is where the government needs to come in, give a lot of incentive and tax to encourage more use of these solar items, and in this case, it will be less pressure on the national grid.
Well, sounds like a plan. Thank you so much for speaking with us, Mr. Taiwo Adewale, an environmentalist.